Love This Way show is brought to you by The Club. The Club is a safe space I curated just for you. There's tips, challenges, downloads, ebooks, journals, coloring books. Just all you need to help you to succeed in your relationship endeavors. The best part? Each tier comes with free coaching sessions with me. So if you've been wanting to book a session with me but couldn't quite afford it yet, join a club and save hundreds. The coaching sessions alone are reason enough to join. With tiers starting at only $37 a month, you don't want to miss this opportunity. Visit shaliavinny.com, choose the membership level of your choice, and go to your calendar and book your free session. I can't wait to connect more with you. And make sure you mention Love This Way sent you. Hello and welcome to the Love This Way podcast, the show that exists to help men and women everywhere to be better at love. Never any gender wars, back and forth, or nonsense. Just great tips to help you find and sustain the love of your dreams. Because love is a journey, but you need direction. So get ready because each episode we're going to be talking about our real life issues, answering tough questions, and building solid relationships with one another as we heal, learn, and grow. I'm your girl, Dr. Shalia Vinny. And on today's show, we're going to talk about the hidden scars left by infidelity. We've all heard that betrayal hurts, but what does it actually do to someone? Hey, babes. So today we're going to be diving into the scars that cheating leaves behind. Not just the ones you see, but the ones that are buried deep within. Because we all know that infidelity can tear relationships apart, but the true impact of being cheated on often goes unnoticed. It's not just emotional, it's biological, psychological, and deeply personal. So today I want to explore the invisible wounds left by betrayal, the ones that alter how a person loves, trusts, and even views themselves. Being cheated on can change you down to the wiring of your brain and the very way you see the world. And while everyone talks about the heartbreak, very few acknowledge the long-lasting effects that infidelity can leave in its wake. So today, we're going to look at what truly happens to someone who's been betrayed, the ways that it affects self-worth and identity, and how one can begin to heal and find hope again. And for anyone who has considered cheating, I hope this episode sheds light on just how profound and lasting the consequences can be. So let's talk about, first and foremost, the psychological and neurological impact of betrayal. Because cheating is a form of betrayal that triggers a response in the brain, not unlike trauma. This isn't just a metaphor. Psychologically, being cheated on can mirror symptoms associated with PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, as the brain attempts to cope with the intense emotional shock and the perceived threat. So let's talk about what actually happens on a neurological and psychological level when someone experiences infidelity. The brain's trauma response goes crazy. It actually activates the amygdala. Now, the amygdala, if you don't know, that's the brain's area that's responsible for processing fear and emotional reactions. So when a person discovers infidelity, the brain's amygdala just goes crazy and goes into overdrive. This floods the body with cortisol and adrenaline. These are the hormones that are associated with, you guessed it, fight or flight. So for someone who's been cheated on, this constant state of high alert can lead to feelings of anxiety, panic, and even paranoia. Then there's also going to be some changes that are reflected in their trust centers. The brain's prefrontal cortex, which is involved in decision making and trust, can be altered after betrayal. Because when trust is violated so deeply, this part of the brain can start interpreting future relationships as potential threats. That is why when someone's been cheated on, they often struggle to trust, even in healthy relationships. It's the brain's way of trying to protect them from ever letting that happen again. So when we talk about this PTSD-like symptom and emotional triggers, I want to dive deeper because many people who have been cheated on often develop symptoms like PTSD, but in this case, a response known as post-infidelity stress disorder. Now, this can also include flashbacks or intrusive thoughts. Those who have been betrayed may have recurring thoughts or mental images of the betrayal, especially when they have a trigger. For example, if you see the partner's phone or even hear certain songs, it brings you right back to that painful memory. Then this creates hypervigilance. Similar to PTSD, someone who's experienced infidelity may become hyper aware of their partner's behavior because they're constantly looking for signs of dishonesty or distance or anything that just kind of reminds them of something that happened when they were doing something wrong. This can turn into an exhausting cycle of suspicion that just erodes any future relationships. And then, of course, these people often have avoidance behaviors because many people who have been hurt in this way avoid situations that remind them of that betrayal. So they might avoid dating altogether or steer clear of certain types of relationships because they fear they're going to experience that same pain again. You guys, this just gets so deep. Now, beyond, of course, the neurological impact, cheating can also warp a person's sense of self-worth. You've heard people that say stuff like, oh, how can I affect the way you feel about yourself? Oh, baby, it is very real because infidelity often leaves people questioning their adequacy and even blaming themselves for their partner's actions. So I want to dive into how betrayal changes the way people see themselves because now they get into this crisis of self-worth and the comparison trap. Self-blame and inadequacy often happens after infidelity because many people fall into a spiral of self-blame, wondering what they did wrong or why they weren't enough to keep their partner faithful. This often leads to feelings of inadequacy that linger even after that relationship has ended. Then we've got the comparison with the other person because people who have been cheated on will frequently compare themselves to the person that their partner cheated with. This comparison can damage your self-esteem, making the betrayed partner feel like they're less attractive or less interesting or less valuable. And then, of course, we get to the distorted self-image because repeated betrayal can lead to distorted self-perceptions, which causes individuals to believe that they're inherently unworthy of loyalty or love. And over time, this distorted self-image can lead to self-sabotaging behavior in future relationships because they may unconsciously expect betrayal. And then, of course, infidelity is going to shift your whole identity because you become hyper independent. So to protect themselves, many betrayed individuals adopt a hyper independent identity, which relies solely on themselves. They avoid emotional vulnerability. And while this independence is empowering, it also becomes a shield that just blocks any healthy intimacy that could come into their lives. And then they internalize the shame. Some who experience infidelity take on a sense of shame because they feel that their worth is defined by another person's disloyalty. So this shame becomes an emotional wound that can prevent them from engaging fully in future relationships or even in the one they stay in if they decide to stay. It is a mess, you guys. And I know if you're not one of these people, you have seen your friends, your family, or those that you're close to who have dealt with this and have exhibited these exact signs and symptoms that I'm talking about. It's rough. Hey friend, make sure you check out shaliavinny.com. You can join a club there. You can book one-on-one coaching sessions with me. You can buy my books there. Oh, and you can get free advice from me now. Go to shaliavinny.com, click the free advice tab, and go ahead and submit your question. I will be answering those questions on my social medias, so make sure you do that because you don't want to miss out. Love you guys. So we've been discussing, of course, the psychological impact and the impact that your self-esteem takes, but none of this is really easy. So if you're still struggling, I want to offer some tips for your healing because healing from the pain of infidelity is really a journey and it involves far more than just simply, moving on. It requires actively working to rebuild trust, establish your self-worth again, make peace with the past. So I just want to give you some concrete steps to help you to move forward. Number one, I want you to focus on rebuilding your self-worth. You need to reconnect with your passions and your goals. Reinvest in your hobbies, your interests, your personal goals. All of this is going to help you to reclaim parts of yourself that you may have lost in the relationship. Pursuing passions is a reminder of one's intrinsic worth outside of any relationship. You need to affirm your personal boundaries because for many, being cheated on can create a sense of blurred boundaries where you might feel powerless or uncertain about your own needs. So setting clear boundaries for future relationships will enforce self-respect and create a foundation of trust. You also cannot be afraid to seek professional support for processing the trauma. You can do therapeutic interventions like EMDR or cognitive behavior therapy, also can be extremely helpful if you're dealing with trauma responses related to the betrayal. These techniques will help you to rewire the brain's response to triggers and reduce the PTSD like symptoms. You can even try group therapy and support networks. You can find communities of people who have experienced similar situations where they can provide validation and support for you. Knowing that they aren't alone in this pain allows a lot of people to begin the healing process with a sense of shared understanding. Now, if you're going to join one of those groups or these networks or communities, make sure that there are positive people who are actually interested in healing and are not just bitter and out to just hate every man and woman moving forward because one person hurt them. Please seek wise counsel. This is very important. Or you can even come see me. Then I want you to relearn trust in a healthy, boundaried way. You got to take relationships slowly. Moving into a new relationship gradually with an emphasis on communication and clear expectations will help create a foundation of trust because betrayed individuals can benefit from discussing their experiences openly and setting boundaries to ensure that they feel secure. You got to embrace vulnerability with caution. Vulnerability is essential to any meaningful connection, but after infidelity, it may need to be practiced in a more controlled way. So share gradually based on trust that are earned rather than being given so freely. It allows you to rebuild emotional resilience. Take it slowly. You have every right to do so. Now, as today's episode comes to a close, I really want to reflect on the true cost of betrayal because cheating doesn't just break a promise, it alters a person's ability to love and trust. It creates wounds that in many cases leave scars that last a lifetime. So if you've been betrayed, remember that your pain is valid, but healing is also possible. The journey might be long, but with patience and self-compassion, you can reclaim your sense of self, rebuild trust, and move forward with resilience. And for anyone even considering stepping outside of your relationship, think carefully about the impact of that choice because true love doesn't only mean passion, it requires respect, honesty, and the willingness to protect the heart of the person that you've committed to. Betrayal is a choice, but that choice can alter the lives that you claim to love. Ask yourself if a fleeting moment is worth leaving a permanent scar on somebody's ability to trust, not just in you, but in love itself. Choosing loyalty means choosing integrity. It's the path that honors both yourself and the person who trusted you with their heart. Until next time, you take care of yourself, honor your growth, and keep your heart open to the love you deserve. If you need more help, you can always go to shaliavinny.com and book a one-on-one session with me. I love you, and I'm rooting for you always. Today's show is brought to you by The Club. Please rate the show on your favorite streaming platform, share it with one person who you think needs to hear it, and then ask them to do the same. Remember to never stop showing up for yourself and the love you desire to have. Good, better, best. Don't you ever let it rest till your good is better and your better is best. Until next time, your friend and relationship strategist, Dr. Shalia. Bye.